Well, I think we need to promote some type of legal situation where we have the means to remove bad cops. Bad cops are the source of all of this. People who don't respect other people's rights. So, that's an important issue. And I think if that issue gets to the forefront, we can put this behind us, because we all need to be respected by the people who enforce the law. And that hasn't happened. And so, whatever we can do to make that happen on a regular basis, it will serve our ends.
Kareem, as Sarah was alluding to, we've seen a lot of people speak up in the last week or so. And I read your op-ed, and you do also make clear that it's a very small percentage, tiny percentage of the police that are the problem. Yeah. Would you like to see more people within that subsect of police force members speak up themselves?
I think it's absolutely essential for the people on the police to show that they understand the problem. Certain people among among the ranks of the police are racist or are afraid of people who don't look like them. I think all of us would serve this issue if we could all make friends with someone who doesn't look like us. I think that's a key issue here. Too much of people's humanity and their right to be a part of the American dream, that's not recognized all the time. And that's very unfortunate.
I wanted to ask you, Kareem, about some of the response in the sports world, in your world, but particularly about the NFL. Roger Goodell came out with a statement of goodness. Does the NFL have any credibility on this issue with the way they handled Colin Kaepernick?
I think they really have to prove to all of us that they mean what they say at this point, because Colin Kaepernick was demonstrating on this very issue, the unnecessary death of Black Americans at the hands of the police. And he was ostracized, he lost his job, and he was blackballed. And he wasn't able to earn a living because he was saying something that people didn't want to hear. It wasn't that what he had to say wasn't true, it's just that people didn't want to hear it. We got to listen. We have to listen to people who are suffering like that. People who get murdered, like the way Tamir Rice got murdered, like the way George Floyd got murdered, like the way James Powell got murdered. James Powell was a young man who died in 1964 in New York City. He was killed by a police officer named Thomas Gilligan. I was 17 years old at that time, and I witnessed the riot that resulted from James Powell being killed by Thomas Gilligan. This isn't a new issue. This has been happening and happening and happening. Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old boy playing in a park, was executed by a police officer who thought that he was a problem. He didn't try to find out. He just got out of his car and executed Tamir Rice. This has to stop. We can't do this.
Kareem, closer to home for you in your own sport, the Knicks franchise owner, Mr. Dolan, said, as companies in the business of sport and entertainment, we are not any more qualified than anyone else to offer our opinion on social matters. James Dolan that said that. What do you make of that? Is this now a moment in time where it's not about qualification to offer advice in these areas, it's just about embracing the message, whatever your own backgrounds were?
Well, I would really feel a lot better if people got into supporting the removal of some very bad circumstances that end up with Black Americans getting killed. That's what we have to deal with. You don't have to be qualified. You just have to want to right something that has been wrong for a long time.
I guess in that, what is the role of the NBA owners specifically? The billionaire team owners. What more could and should they be doing? Well,
in the communities where their teams are, they can try to get educational and financial opportunities for minority people in the cities where they have their franchise. Minority people and Black Americans are often the last hired and the first fired. We can change that. There's a lot of positive ways that we can relate with our fellow citizens and work on this problem and eliminate it.
Kareen, as you know, we're a business network. I mean, you alluded to it there. How much of the problem that you've witnessed throughout all of the work you do in this area is based on financial inequality? And when you look at the moment at the response by central banks and governments to the coronavirus crisis, and you see the stock market back positive territory year to date, but huge swathes of unemployment across the nation, does that worry you?
Yeah, it does worry me because the companies that they got support from the federal government, they were able to fend off a disaster, but they don't want to pay their employees a living wage. You know, if they paid their employees a living wage, a lot of these problems would not exist. Redlining by insurance companies is a problem. Just the fact that a lot of real estate brokers collude with people who have racist agendas. This is a big problem in our country. Money is made on this. So we have to get to the root of all of these things and do something meaningful to affect change.
How do you think that the pandemic has exacerbated this issue from a health and economic standpoint?
Well, I think the way that the pandemic has affected us, it has shown how the inequality in healthcare and economic opportunities has affected the way that the epidemic has attacked our country. It's attacked along the fault lines of race and economic deprivation. It's very clear. Just look at the statistics. Look at who's been ill, who's been affected. Minorities, Black Americans, have been inordinately affected by this coronavirus. It's been devastating in those communities. Why?
Kareen, looking for some positives and some optimism. I wondered how much you're looking forward to the return of live sport, not just as an ongoing avenue to promote progressive issues, but clearly 2020, for all sorts of reasons, has been a challenging year. And I wonder what your view on was whether live sport coming back could be something that could help everybody turn the corner.
Well, I'm sure that live sport will definitely get a lot of people out of that bored state, where they have something to follow. But I think we've got work to do before that. It has nothing to do with sports. I just want to come back to that. We've got to improve conditions for everybody that's affected by all of these situations. And we can do that now that we're talking to each other.
Well, that's just what I wanted to ask you finally, Kareen, which is, you've been sounding this alarm your entire career, going back to the 60s. Do you see this time being different in terms of what change can be driven from this?
Well, I think that just the horror of watching that video that's almost 9 minutes long of George Floyd being murdered. I think just if you watch that and try to understand that this is a commonplace practice in our country of police killing Black Americans on the slightest whim. We've got to do something about it. We've got to change that. We've got to value everybody's life. And if that happens, we will make progress.
We'll end it there. Kareen Abdul-Jabbar, thank you very much for joining us.
Great talking with you. Good luck.
We appreciate the time. You too.